line when you're looking at the city. But out in the suburbs for the longest period of time, there was nothing on the markets, it felt like. And then when things did pop up on the markets last fall, I watched them for the remainder of the winter sort of sit and nothing happening. All of a sudden in my neighborhood, I'm telling you, every house has sold that was on the market. It's amazing. And yesterday, Boston.com came out with a story related to this, talking about how suburban homes have dropped. The prices of homes have dropped about as low as they've been since the mid-2000s. And we're watching the skyline in Boston continue to grow, and the prices continue to grow there as well. So what's going on, and is it time for people to start moving to the suburbs? That, I guess, really is the question. Joining us this morning is Anthony Lamacchia. He is a broker and the owner and CEO of Lamacchia Realty. And it's good to have you with us, Anthony.
Thank you very much for having me, Kim.
So tell me why you think the prices in the suburbs around Boston are starting to drop.
I actually don't think they're starting to drop as a whole. That was 2 months. That was January and February compared to last January and February. And when you look at 1 month at a time like that, or in this case, 2 months at a time like that, it can be deceiving. Just last month, we did a housing report for February, and one of the counties in New Hampshire was up 50%. And everybody said, oh, my God, my house is worth 50% more. No, it's not. It's 1 month compared to 1 month. So Overall, I don't think that's happening. But it is interesting to see the prices a little bit lower there compared to the previous January and February. And there's no denying. What's that?
I was just going to say, well, what do you think would be the reasoning in 2016 that we would just see that?
The reason is, I say this every year, and every year people think I'm just being a salesman. The best time of the year to buy is in the fall, and the best time to sell is late winter, early spring. And we're getting, to the end of the best time of year to sell now, because the best time to sell is when inventory is low. The best time to buy is when inventory is higher. So late summer and fall, inventory is higher. Now, remember, these statistics that are quoted here in this article talk about January and February. Those are closed transactions. Those deals likely came together, not likely, almost definitely came together in November and December. Inventory was higher. People were grabbing the houses before the holidays, and then they closed, in January or February.
Anthony, is it purely a cyclical thing, as you cited the seasons, or do we have numbers on it? Are there families from the suburbs, which traditionally obviously go to the suburbs, schools and more room, bigger houses, or are families moving to the city, or is it just a cyclical thing?
Well, both. It does happen in a typical fashion, like you mentioned. We do see the same trends every year. Late winter, early spring, low inventory, seller's market. Late summer, fall, high inventory, buyer's market. But years back, people were totally happy to live in the suburbs, okay, and they didn't mind the commute. Then the market tanked, and people said, well, why am I going to live in the suburbs in a house that's, in many cases, upside down on their mortgage? I'll just move back closer to the city. I don't want to commute. So they moved back closer because then prices became affordable again. Now the opposite is happening. Now that prices are going up so much in Boston and the immediate towns around Boston, people are starting to move back out again. So I actually think that, I know from the numbers that the prices in the suburbs are increasing, and they will continue to. This year is just citing 2 months compared to 2 months, and I don't deny those statistics. They're accurate, but overall, 6 months from now, you look back, it's not going to be the case. You're going to see a bit of an increase, not an increase at the rate that you will in the Boston and the immediate towns around Boston, but it is increasing. We're seeing it all the way out to Worcester. Home prices in Worcester County are finally starting to come up with consistency.
Now, Kim, you're a North Shore girl, and
right.
I was wondering, Anthony, I know each town, each city is different, but how are the taxes in the suburbs? I mean, are they high, and are they going higher? Because a lot of times people could afford the mortgage, but they can't afford the taxes because they're crazy.
That's a tough question to answer because it's very town-specific. There are some towns that have very affordable taxes, and then the town right next door is much, much higher. That is something that buyers take into account, though. You're definitely right about that. They do have an eye on that, and people do talk about it.
Let's talk about inventory. I've noticed that the inventory, like you were saying, in late fall, seemed to increase. Now, is this partially because people can put their houses on the market? That maybe those who were upside down are starting to get it straightened out. There's more job movement. People are on the go more. Is that part of it, Anthony?
Well, all of those reasons are reasons that people sell, but the same thing happens every single year. People list in the winter. People that list in the winter and list in the early spring do better, and then by late spring, those houses start selling, and the neighbors start saying, "Oh my God, my neighbor's house sold for this number. My neighbor's house sold for that number," and then they list their houses at a higher number, and then when theirs don't sell, they say, "Why isn't my house selling? My neighbor's house sold for it. I should sell for more." But they don't realize by the time they're listing, there's many more homes on the market, and then by the time we get to fall, there's an abundance of homes on the market.
Sure.
And that's why it slows down. The more choices that buyers have, the slower the market is. The less choices that buyers have, the faster things move.
Hey, Kim, a lot of people don't realize that their neighbors' renovated kitchen and bathrooms go a long way to making it sell quicker.
Right. That's so very true.
No doubt about it. And we run into this every year. I mean, it's just how the market works, and we try hard to explain it to buyers and sellers. And, some people understand it and some don't, but that's okay.
So let's just talk about the market overall. Give us an overall view of the housing market as we head into, nicer weather.
Except for yesterday.
Or so they say.
Yeah, there's no doubt that the market is continuing to improve. Now, last year, home prices went up 4%. It was actually just under 4%, but home sales were up 9%. I see the same kind of thing happening this year. We're continuing to see an improvement. And I don't really see any reason that that's going to change, at least in the near term. It's been easier and easier for buyers to obtain mortgages. They've loosened some of the mortgage guidelines, not nearly as loose as they were back 10 years ago. The economy's better. There's demand out there. More people are listing their homes now. So I think we're in a good market, and I'm excited about that.
Hey, Anthony, when it comes to young people in the city, are they... Like, I've lived in a lot of different areas of the country, and the young people always tend to migrate towards the cities because, that's where the action is, I guess they feel. But they'd have to do the roommate situation. Nowadays, are younger people, millennials, I guess we'll say, are they buying or are they renting? And if they're renting, is it roommate situations? How are sales doing with young folks?
Well, you're certainly right that the younger folks that are renting are oftentimes have roommates. But it's a very good question that you asked because historically speaking, the percentage of first-time buyers among all buyers is over 40%. But the last 2 years, it was right around 30%. And I'll tell you, the biggest reason, in my opinion, is student loan debt. A lot of these younger folks, 30 years old and younger, have a lot of student loan debt, and it's impacting their ability to be able to obtain mortgages. And that's delaying their purchase. So I'm actually excited to see what happens over the next few years because the market has still been strong and there's still been a lot of demand, but as people work off that student loan debt and get themselves in a better position to buy, that's going to bring even more buyers to the market.
Anthony Lamacchia, great information. He is broker, owner, CEO of Lamacchia Realty. Thank you for being a part of the show today.